You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment.
Very good, Keith Johnson.
The AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California. Presented by Maria Menounos and Bing.com and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's Castle After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. If you'd like to buzz in on tonight's show, you can buzz us at 424-256-1729. That's 424-256-1729. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's Castle After Show.
Bing is for doing, and we are doing another episode on AFTERBUZZ TV for Castle Season 5, Episode 22, entitled Still. I'm your host.
She would not do well on a bomb. That's what we know.
I am your host, Bamm Ericsen, and please, everyone else, introduce yourselves.
Yes, hi everybody. I am back, and my name is Paige Sullivan.
I am Samara Bay. I'm also back.
Everybody's back tonight. I was still here last week. And I'm your host, Larice Shamar. Thanks. Everybody's back.
We are back.
Yes.
I feel like we're slap happy tonight. I don't know why.
I know.
I think it's because this episode was kind of like, it was weird. My emotions are, there was moments where I wanted to cry. There was moments where you're giggling. It was just very mixed emotions.
There's moments when you're frustrated by the timing of the reminiscences.
Yeah, because
It was a lot tonight.
it was a lot. I mean, I feel like it was an emotional roller coaster.
What'd you think?
I was just laughter the whole entire time.
You thought it was funny?
Yeah.
Well, it was hard. Okay, my one thing is like I would get emotional, and then they do the retrospective aspect, and you'd giggle and stuff. Then you realize, even when you're getting sad, you're like, she's not gonna die. You know, I don't even believe that this is going to end badly, because there's no way they would do this looking back if they really were just going to kill her. They're like, oh, look at all these happy memories of Castle and Beckett, and see you later, girl. Like,
I think the great thing about tonight's episode that it did kind of like reminisce about a lot of the things that kind of built the whole Castle and Beckett relationship. You know, some of the good and some of the bad, but we kind of see where it started. You know, for those who did not watch it from first season, it's that you kind of get to see the development of Castle and Beckett, the annoying parts, the laughter part, the romantic parts, and just kind of like overall the judgment between the two of them and how they felt about the relationship.
yeah.
How strange is it that, you know, what we know is that the episodes got switched, this week's and last week's.
Yeah.
And how weird would it have been if they had this episode where they basically affirmed how much they matter to each other, happening right before her episode where she kisses the other dude?
Yeah, I know. I don't know. Like we were saying, like, was that an extra episode they had stored somewhere?
I tried to look online. I don't know if any of our viewers slash listeners know more than we do, but I tried to get information online about if they recut this episode because of the whole marathon bomber thing.
Yeah. I couldn't find
it
anything.
sort of hit it if it's there. So
Yeah, because I'm wondering, because the first preview we saw of Still did not show any retrospective aspect. It didn't show looking back or reminiscing about the relationship at all. We did not see that. But I'm assuming that's still the way it was, because the whole episode was kind of based around that. Like, oh, really? That's not how I remember.
they couldn't have done all those reshoots.
No, they couldn't have done that. So it must have been the way it was, but I just guess we question it because it was moved, and we wondered if it was going to get pulled, but...
I mean, I guess like, when you kind of look at it, though, it's like if somebody's standing on the bomb, you want to kind of look back at all the happy times, the different moments that you had with this person, and just basically like letting people understand that you actually cherish this person, you know, from the good, the bad, the sad, the happy.
Yeah.
So I just think it's probably one of the original episodes, and they didn't do a lot of cutting at all.
Well, I do recall in the previews that they did reference something that there would be kind of flashbacks of the past 5 years, but also just looking back at some TV shows from the 80s, 90s, even to the 70s, there's always been situations when they have a reason to flashback, and it's normally having something to do with like either being robbed or something where it affects the two stars or the leads of the TV show. It's always about something that has something to do with like death or robbery. Particularly, I remember the Jeffersons episode when they were murdered, when they were held hostage in the kitchens, and then they start to flash back because that was all they had. So it makes sense for
and
me.
on like just a sort of production level, my husband was reminding me earlier today when I was looking forward to this episode that there's a thing called a bottle episode in Hollywood where you'll save money by just doing a one location episode, and they did that. I mean, I don't know how much money they save because damn, do they have a lot of SWAT team members or whatever. Those guys are downstairs.
It's a lot of extras.
Lots of like machinery and outfits. But yeah, I mean,
It was like one room.
they stuck to that plus the precinct.
Yeah.
I saw, speaking of the precinct, I think it was Seamus tweeted them kind of like packing it up because they'd wrapped for the season. And it was he was like, goodbye, Precinct 12, see you next time. Like, I was like, oh, the season's almost over.
Yeah. We're talking about news and gossip already. We're terrible.
We're terrible.
Well, let's talk about more happier times. So actually
Not happier times.
not happier
Or less
times,
happier
but
times.
let's just get into the episode. Let's talk about the murder. So what do you guys think about the murder?
It's kind of confusing at first. The whole bombing situation, and when they kind of went to go the Fosse house, it's kind of like what's really going on because nobody really knew what was going on. And just so happened that Beckett looked outside the windows, like see somebody running in the alley.
Well, I mean, what do you think when you find an empty house and you're NYPD and you just knock down the door? I mean, every cop show you watch, there's somebody there. They're climbing down the fire escape. They jumped out the window.
And it's New York where they all have fire escapes.
Yeah, exactly. So that didn't confuse me at all. It was just a weird transition. The beginning where he came in with the coffee and they were like talking, and she like looks at the paper and she's like, "Oh, we were dealing with this last night," and it's like, okay, so like, should we have known that? Like, I felt like we were like being left out because she's already been working on this case apparently.
Yeah.
And so in terms of the murder, there wasn't much of a murder. It was like a quick, this is the guy who did it. This is why he did it. This is the people he did it to. Then we need a reason we need to keep him alive, so we can not keep him alive. We need to give him something, so he gives us the code to detonate or like to get rid of. Is it called detonate when you end it?
Yeah.
No, deactivate.
Deactivate.
But when it started off with the two, when Castle came into the room and Beckett was in bed, I totally thought it was gonna go different. I thought it was going to go in a totally different way, where it was going to be more flashbacks and not so much about the bombing, and that it would just only be mentioned, and then it would be this whole episode just about the flashbacks. So it kind of threw me for a loop in the beginning.
Well, yeah, like we were saying at the beginning of this after show, was that it was kind of strange. There was moments where I didn't think the flashbacks were appropriate, or moments where there was like a lot of flashbacks, or it just seemed like. That's why I was kind of wondering if this is the way it was originally cut or not, because it just seemed kind of like overkill. And I don't know if like the lightheartedness of the flashbacks was meant to kind of, play against the bombing and the serious aspect of it.
But it just messed with our sort of emotional arc, because every time those yes, as a Castle fan, those flashbacks are fun, and seeing her hairstyles was hilarious.
Well,
but they almost every single one of them came at a time when I was like, can we just get back to like, she's on a bomb? Can we solve it? And the fact that, I think the one given, sorry, I'm gonna give it to you in just 1 second. The one major given of this episode with this version of the cut, if there ever was another one, is that like 90% of the episode was emotional, sentiment, and 10% at the very end was let's talk incredibly fast and solve the case. And we all really like their banter, but we all tune into Castle every week to see a case get solved with their clever way of solving it. And they didn't do that until the last 10%.
It's the last 2 minutes.
Well, but we're going to actually get into the flashbacks itself, because that obviously that would monopolize the majority of the episode. And so now that we've kind of touched on the murder and talked about how we felt about it, now we can go into the bomb situation itself. What did you guys think about that? What was your thoughts?
My thought is, how do you build a bomb like that in an apartment complex when nobody is distracted, or because you have to cut the floor to put
in his own place though?
Yeah, but at the same time, to have to be cutting and making up all that noise to place a bomb inside, that would kind of raise a red flag. If you're in my apartment complex and like somebody's cutting and sawing, I'm like,
But you have to figure, he's living in New York. It didn't look like it was in like an apartment complex with like, the the concierge and all of that. Like, it didn't look like one of those. It looked like, I know in the past when I've lived in apartments in cities, there's lots of noises that I don't know what they are, and I don't have anybody to call. My landlord's like, I don't care. So I think...
Just pay the rent.
Yeah, and especially where he's a felon. You know, he's been convicted of arson, and the fact that he even has an apartment, he's living by himself, somebody gave him a lease to this place. If a felon came to me, I'd be like, nope, but maybe it's like a slumlord and he just doesn't care, and...
Yeah, I mean, but that was the first thing about the whole bomb. But then the second thing is that the reaction of Castle, he was just like, oh, well, it's like nothing. Like, come on, let's go. And Beckett's like, no, seriously, I think it's a bomb. Well,
yeah, he wasn't asking her to step off of it. I think he knew that it was a bomb. I think he was just... You know how Castle is. He's telling himself it's not, so let's laugh about it. Let's be fun about it. Let's keep our spirits up. He always is like that.
But it did seem tonally weird. Like, I could buy him taking that style of dealing with the situation, but having the sort of simmering drama underneath. But instead, he seemed to totally diffuse the simmering drama, and it was just all about, like, I'm gonna keep it light. It's one of those Castle episodes, when it was clearly not one of those Castle episodes.
I agree. Now, it's one thing to change the subject to kind of keep her mind off of it, but you take her mind off the fact that she's been standing for hours in the same spot by asking, well, who was into each other first? Seems a little...
I think it was perfect because it's like they were already having a discussion before they got there. It was almost as if it was just a continuation of a conversation they probably would, might have had at home. Because I think if you are standing on that bum and somebody's making up a fake conversation and being like, so what do you think about this? And, maybe sometime we should go do this. You're not really going to be paying attention to what they're saying. These two are not legitimately, but they were like playing with the idea of really debating who... to first.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with Paige too, because if it was an actual stranger to come to talk to Beckett, it's probably like, oh, leave me alone. We really have nothing to talk about. But because it was Castle, it was that they kind of had that relationship where they can continuously talk about, reminisce about things that happened in their life.
Do you think there would have been a way to have exactly what we liked about that, but then also have started the other plate spinning earlier of what's actually going on with this case? How do we deactivate the bomb with our brains instead of with the dudes downstairs? Because I feel like if both of those things had been going on, I would have been like, oh, cool, there's sensory overload. I'm getting satisfied on, all these different levels. And instead it was like, are they going to
because the guy
deal with the fact that there's a bomb?
He worked for the education system, but it's like he had really no purpose until the end of the episode.
And they had to talk so fast.
And then what also got me is when he gave the information to Beckett in regards to what it was. Then he was like, okay, I'm gonna check on you and come back later. What?
I don't know. I think the one thing I have to say about them solving the murder, I think there could have been a better, time split between the two of them. I think they could have done better with maybe less looking back, less flashbacks, and more of them solving. Because like you said it, I think, Samara, when we were watching, you said they couldn't have been working on this throughout the whole episode. Why in the last 10 seconds? I mean, instead of distracting her, why don't you two work together on solving this case?
Yeah.
She has her iPhone.
I bet if he had said that thing about how I'm the one who comes up with the stories, you're the one who gets the evidence,
earlier,
which was a flashback sequence. It did provide another opportunity for. If that had just been the first one or the second one after the Who Liked Who first one, then at least they could have been working the whole way through to figure out instead of. And if it was as easy as it ended up being, if it took 3 minutes to figure out the sun element.
She's like, we have a minute left. They're like, he had a kid. He had this.
And also to discover only that late in the game that there's a computer inches away.
But see, that's my problem because the last minute they figure out, minute they figure this out. But I remember specifically at the 10-minute mark, they're still having the freaking argument about who had, who liked each other first. Yeah. So in 10 minutes, they're bantering back and forth over
Who Liked Who.
Over Who Liked Who, and I forget specifically what they were arguing about, but it's like you have 10 minutes left, and that's
what
you're
they were losing
about?
the whole audience at that point. We're like, we don't need now's the wrong time.
First of all, I don't know about y'all internet service with wireless routers, but My search engines don't come up that quickly.
But you have slow internet.
I'm like, hey, they kind of saw that real quick. And that was just like one of the things I felt like they, like, again, like everybody's agreeing tonight, they should have got more into the murder versus like the Castle,
Right.
the Castle and Beckett story.
Because we liked that part too, and I think that it was lacking that. I maybe that this is just the way they wanted to take the episode. Maybe they really just wanted to be like a flashback and show us who Castle and Beckett are to each other. But just staying true to the show, I think there should have been more. Maybe those last 10 minutes, like you were saying, should have been dedicated to that. So the last quarter of the show should have been dedicated to really digging into this case.
And my question is, if they recut this because of
the bombing
in the real world, does this satisfy people who don't want to think about that bombing? I mean,
No, I don't think so.
No.
And not only that, there was also an explosion of a whole apartment building, and then the Waco, Texas thing. I mean, there's just been a lot involved with this, and I get maybe they couldn't really pull it, and maybe they did recut it so that it was less dramatic or less focused on that actual aspect.
Yeah.
But it was just kind of scary the way they were saying, like, even when he was in their possession, like in the jail, and they're like, he has more planned, more is going to happen. I was kind of like, this is like too much. This is like a little emotional, whereas we've all kind of been dealing with this for the past month. I just, it just was strange.
Then the fact that they said it had 3 bombs, but they never had a
suspect,
idea. Yeah, for the third bomb, and just kind of left it at, let's just kind of say Beckett. But what about the other bomb that you typically said that he possibly would have had, because he set off 2 bombs, which is
this was the third.
This is the second.
No, he killed a person in Connecticut. He killed a person in New York, and then he almost killed Beckett, which was intended for the baseball card guy. And then from there, he was looking for his ex.
To not kill him, just to use
Scare
him to get
him?
information. No, to get info from him, right?
Right, but you're going to use a bomb, and you think this guy. I'm sure he would give you every information you wanted if he's stepping on a bomb.
Right.
But you think he's going to walk away from there and not be like, this is the guy, this is where he lives, this is what just happened to me.
Yeah.
I think he was still going to blow him up. I don't think it had anything to do with just getting that information. I think once he had that information, he was going to kill him.
I think there should have been more detail about Fosse himself, because like he went to the precinct, the lawyer he had was very, very terrible, and the next thing you know, he's like, he stabbed himself in the cell, and that was it.
And also, why did he commit the first arson? And why is he out to get revenge on all these people? Did he not commit the first arson? Was it...
Right, which that's all the stuff that they skip.
It's a lot of,
so here's what we know, right? So our perpetrator / victim's last name is Fosse, like the choreographer of Broadway shows.
Oh,
which I thought was totally random. Fosse. And yes, we find out that 6 years ago he committed arson, and he's going after the people who were on the jury.
Who testified.
Who testified, not
against
jury,
him,
but who testified against him one by one. And it turns out one of them was a girlfriend at the time.
Yep, his girlfriend and like his girlfriend's cousin. And I don't know. The whole murder wrapped up too quickly, and it was just, I wish we knew more. That's all I have to say about that. I mean, I don't know if anybody at home agrees with that. I know you guys have a lot of opinions and you leave a lot of comments, and we do read them. And this was definitely an episode we were waiting for, seeing as it was pulled originally, and all of you were telling us last week that we would learn more in this episode. So I think a lot of you read spoilers, but which I do not. So
I do not either.
Somebody commented, was like, I don't know if you read spoilers, but this happened. I was like, oh, but thanks for the alert. So I didn't continue reading all of your comment, but leave your comments, rate the show, tell us what you like, what you don't like, how you feel about our Castle After show. We love to know so we can improve on it. So make sure you check us out on iTunes and check out any other AfterBuzz TV show that you like, because we have plenty of them.
And don't forget that now that you guys can view us on mobile devices for like Apple, Android, and iPads.
On your iPad.
I just really want a quick thing about the whole bomb thing. I thought that Beckett was extremely calm, and there were sad moments where she really felt like, this is the end, I'm going to die. And she was really calm and poised with dealing with the fact that she may potentially die.
I have to say that was the one flashback I did like, was when she was by herself and she kind of was like going through, and you could tell she was like, I'm okay with this, this is what I wanted my life to be. When she's talking to Bishop and he's saying, it's not our responsibility to give our lives for these people. You know, we fight for these people, but we don't have to give our lives.
Yeah.
And she's kind of okay with, she's okay with it. And you see her with Castle, and she comes to peace with it until Castle walks back in.
The name of the episode, still. You know, obviously it's literal that she has to remain still in the bomb.
And she
but
was
also she was it really forced her
Mentally.
as the actress to just like be there and experience these feelings, and she did such a beautiful job. And I think we're all just noticing it. Just really vulnerable, and you could see her sort of fighting with whether or not she was going to allow herself to have fun with Castle, which she was clearly trying to make her do, and the resistance to that, and all of that was just happening in this really subtle way, which was lovely.
Yeah.
But just on a different note, she was there for hours and hours and hours.
Without food, she didn't even have breakfast.
She didn't have anything to drink or eat, and she went
That's what you're gonna say.
She had to hold it. No matter what, she had to hold it.
That would have been awesome if that was the first thing she said. Oh,
I have to pee. That's what I would probably say.
I know. But really, like, if you kind of see, if you was in that situation, that you'll probably feel the same way too. Like, food wouldn't matter, water wouldn't matter, because
this is life or death. I mean,
you might be dead in like 30 minutes. You know, as a time frame that they told her, the castle's like, hey, you have 30 minutes. The bond has 30 minutes on her. And again, like they said, they would laugh and joke about, their own personal life. But when she was kind of like just reminiscing about herself and her life, the passing of her mom and all the things that's kind of happened to her, at some point in time, like when you have like 2 minutes left in your life, what do? You kind of be thankful for the things that has happened, and you think about it, but there's nothing you can do if you was in that situation.
Let's reminisce and think back to now the flashbacks, because there were a lot.
Her hairstyle.
The first,
her hair.
The first flashback was when Castle was saying how, I know you had a thing for me first because you can't keep your hands off me. So we see the flashbacks of every time back in the early episodes when she used to pull his ear. She'd grab his nose, or she'd do something. So we got to see the earlier years of Castle and those hairdos.
Oh God!
Yeah, I love that he literally said the dizzying array of hairstyles.
It's funny because, like I've mentioned before, my dad watches like the reruns on, I think it's TNT or something like that, and he'll always come in and be like, "Boy, that's a crazy look." And I'm like, "No," he's like, "I think she looks much better now with her new hair." But I try and think back, like, okay, was this a realistic look for 5 seasons ago? Like, what were people doing with their hair? Because we look at it now and I'm like, oh my gosh, why did she look like that? But I'm sure at the time she was a very pretty woman.
Yeah,
I can't remember. Like,
I like the long hair.
I like
I'm a fan.
Guys.
I like the long hair, and for some reason in tonight's episode, she looked really thin. But
she did.
She looked really thin. But just the hair. Looking at the episodes, when I watch it on the reruns and just watching the flashbacks, the hair looks so late 90s / Friends.
Which is so funny because 5 years ago was not late 90s.
Yes. 5 years ago, it's like 2000.
But I don't remember thinking this. Like, I don't remember thinking this when I used to watch Castle. Like, I don't remember thinking, like, that's an awful haircut.
We just have to imagine she was as trendy then as she is
I have to. We have to imagine that because I don't remember having this complaint until we've seen all these flashbacks.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness.
And also the quality of film of TV, I feel like was like the lighting wasn't as good, and obviously everybody just looked a little different.
And the makeup, she looked a little more. She looked like she had more powder on. So it was.
He also, though, I have to say, Castle looked good. I mean, I'm not saying he doesn't look good. It's been 5 seasons; they're all getting older, but he looked so young and
thicker.
so thin.
He looks a little thicker.
Yeah, he was so thin.
I mean,
It's called good eating.
Yeah, I mean, hey, he lives a wonderful life, a lavish life. If I was that rich, I'd probably eat everything. I would eat everything.
This is the paradox of being a TV star, though. You can't do it.
You can't eat everything, but I still think he looks good. It's just when you compare the side by side of what he did look like and what he does look like now, you're like, oh wow, you look very different. They all do.
That also goes to show the difference between men and women. Beckett is probably even thinner now than she was season 5, and now you have Castle and Esposito.
Who look bigger now.
They put on a couple pounds, and it's not muscles like
agree.
Mrs. Larice Shamar.
I think that Javi does look a little more muscular. His arms look bigger. I don't know. He doesn't look.
He's not a thin Javi.
No, but he's not a thin Javi. But I don't think he looks, poor. I think he looks still muscular and like he is working out for his job.
Not to get back to the show, the episode or anything, but how funny is it that he was like, "Step out of the way! I know what I'm gonna do," and he's the one who discovers that Fosse has basically committed suicide in the set.
I kind of want to see what he was. Yeah, I kind of want to see what he's gonna do.
He's like, "I got this. I got this one."
He's about to be bad cop for a moment.
Well, it reminds me of that time he was bad cop with that little kid. Remember? And he was like, "I got this."
Totally.
He's like, "I'm from the streets." Like
you could see it formulating like in the scene prior when Gates was like, "There's nothing else we can do," and he was silent while Ryan was nodding, and he's like, "I got a plan."
Yeah.
But oh well.
Gates is looking more feminine. She seems. I
think it's because we like her better. No, I'm not kidding.
More. She smiled more. That makes everybody look more attractive.
Or her makeup is different. Like she has a glow to her.
But can we talk about what actually happened with her in this episode?
Or should we save it?
Well, we can. Well, you want? Let's.
Okay, no, we'll save it.
Let's save it.
We'll save it for the wrap up.
Save the best for the.
I'm sorry. So
fine.
let's go to the flashbacks. So then we have all the clips where the women are telling Beckett, you know, girl, we know you like him, and it was refreshing to see the scenes with Lainey and Alyssa Milano, who is a TV star.
And what's her name? The girl from that 70s show. She was on there.
Yes.
I forget her name. I'm blanking on her. I loved her in that 70s show. I forgot she was on Castle. It's funny. You forget those things have happened. Like I always say, it's been 5 seasons. You forget those things have happened. It's kind of fun to see them go back. I don't even really remember people being so into the Castle Beckett thing. I felt like it's been developing so much over the last 2 seasons, like really intense.
But it's been an ongoing thing.
It's been ongoing, but it's more of like a playful thing back. You know, now it's like
and it's
so
true that
intense.
for a while there, I mean, starting at the beginning and moving on for a few seasons, it was definitely, the dynamic was that regardless of what Beckett secretly felt about
She
him,
didn't
or denied
want
to herself about him, the outward thing was like, "I can't stand you," and he was like, "I'm gonna flirt with you anyway," and that was fun to watch.
Yeah, it
But
was
it's always like a great thing. Men do that all the time. It's always like a cat mouse chase.
I'm not saying it isn't.
No, that's why I think it's so different when you look back. Like we always say, that seasons are really progressing. Now we're so much more into who these people are. And back then, I feel like it was really fun and lighthearted, and it was a lot about the sexual tension and flirting. And then it got serious, especially when she got shot, and it was like, really, how do we feel about each other? I mean, this is not a playful thing anymore. It's a serious life decision thing. I don't know. I liked those flashbacks, though.
Yeah, it was good.
flashback of Castle liking to play cop.
Those are funny.
Yes. I love when he did something totally dramatic and instantaneously he's like, "Did anyone see this? Tell me you saw that."
Yeah, it was definitely like entertaining to kind of see Castle kind of just be that interactive, like active within his role as a cop, because it's like normally, you know, he plays the writer, solving the crimes and everything, but these clips was like funny.
I wish they showed that one. Remember where that was recent, where he said NYP, and he's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not a cop.
I'm a writer.
I wish that one was in there, because they had a lot of recent stuff in these flashbacks, which I thought was kind of nice, because you don't normally have that, and it still, you know, kept it fresh.
Yeah.
But I thought those were funny. I thought those were some of my favorites, along with the one I said of Beckett, you know.
I also like the scenes where they were in death situations. It makes me go back to, like, you know, the time when she was hanging from the building, and from when they were in the water.
And they're the frozen. Oh yeah, I'd forgotten about that when they were in the car that went into the water. Yeah.
They almost froze to death, and so those are cool flashbacks.
And the tiger.
Tiger. I was like, oh.
I was like, I forgot that happened, and now I remember how like crazy that was.
Yeah.
It's like, he's gonna eat us. I don't know. I liked those, but I feel like they made you like. They would remind you of the seriousness of the situation, whereas the other ones were funny and lighthearted. That was the confusing part for me.
Yeah, it was too much. Actually, the best one that I probably like is when they showed the clips of when they both knew who the killer was.
Yeah, I liked that.
Oh my God! Every time they said the same thing at the same time.
That takes me back to like season 2, season 3. Those are season 2, 3. Those are like some of my most memorable episodes. So, and I remember in those seasons when they always would know who the killer was, and so I thought
Or they would use their own their respective different
Yeah.
techniques to get there, and would get there at the same.
And
instant.
sometimes they would be on dates with other people, and in the middle of a dinner, you know, boom, they get the idea of who the killer is, and they stop what they're doing, they leave the date, or they call each other. So, you know, I thought that was cool.
That was funny too, actually. Yeah. That was really funny.
So any other flashbacks you guys want to talk about?
No, I really liked. I mean, like I said, I really thought the one with the most impact was when Beckett was just coming to terms with what was about to happen, and she like closed her eyes and she was just kind of waiting for it.
And then they had that cool shot from above, from the
With
ceiling.
her eyes closed. Yeah, I liked that. That was my favorite one, just because I felt like that was the one that went along most with how I felt during the serious parts of the episode.
And also getting to see the old captain was really nice.
Yeah.
I got one.
Yeah, Larice, what up?
I think the one where
He grabbed her butt. Is that what
No,
you're
the
saying?
one his mom came in when they like both like fell off the bed. He was like, get in the closet. She's like, no, I'm not getting in the closet.
Yeah, that was this season too. So it's just it's funny. Like they were recent flashbacks. That was a funny one.
Yep.
Let's talk about Gates. I mean, I'm sorry, not Gates. Let's talk about Sir. Finding out that.
This is exactly what I wanted from last week. You were totally right that she knew, but I was totally right that they were not just going to gloss over it. They were going to need to have something where she said, "Hey guys, just so you know, I know what's going on.
I got this."
I was very satisfied with that.
I was wrong.
What was your?
Because I didn't think that she knew.
I don't know how you couldn't think she knew, because just the way they look at each other. I mean,
the interaction amongst each other. I just like how they kind of rolled up with the cop car and kind of like gave the siren, like, "Oh, don't do it."
Yeah,
but it's a TV show. Like they could have just chosen for her not to know, and she would have just had to act like she didn't know.
But my favorite part of that was when Beckett and Esposito were hugging, and she was like, "Did she see? Did she see?" And he's like, "No, she didn't."
I love how after such a traumatic experience, they still worry about if their boss knows they're dating or not. It's like, and Gates is like, just kiss them, okay? Like, and I think Gates has been warming up to Castle, and this makes her like him even more, that he is willing to be just like any one of her men or women in the force, and he is willing to stick by his partner through thick and thin and get her out of this situation.
I think because he's in love with her, not because he's a good cop.
But do you wonder if he would have done it for Esposito or why am I calling him Seamus right now? But Ryan, do you think he would have done it for them? I mean, they're his friends. I mean, he cares about that. I feel like he's so determined. I think might have.
Beckett would have.
We know Beckett would have.
Esposito and Ryan would have done it for each other.
Yeah.
And I think Beckett, you're right, would have done it for any of them. But you wonder if Castle is that dedicated to what he does, or if it's just he's dedicated to Beckett.
Yeah. And I think the thing about Gates, I mean, Sir, in the whole relationship with Castle and Beckett, I guess she just want to kind of observe to kind of see if they actually going to continue to be professional in the precinct. And that's probably why she said that, as long as I keep it professional, I don't have a problem with it. And this is kind of like just overseeing things. I would have kind of dealt with the situation the same way.
Yeah, I liked it. I thought it was a good way to end the episode.
Yeah, I mean, it could have been a problem. It could have, if we wanted to like create more drama on this show.
Yeah,
she definitely could have said like, "I've seen it, it's cute, but guys, I really can't have this in my precinct."
Yeah, I think if it was a problem between Castle and Beckett where it kind of became a conflict, I think Sir would have said something earlier in previous episodes.
Well, there may be some problems in these next 2 weeks because we're going to get into predictions. Do we have any news?
No, I mean, we kind of touched base on most of our news that we've been looking into is just the episode in general. Did they recut it? Have they, did they pull certain scenes? Is this what it was intended to be? But we couldn't really find much, and I feel like it was like that for a reason. They don't really, they don't want you to really know that it was supposed to be a completely different episode, but,
And now, your AfterBuzz
I think they want us to get into predictions.
Okay, so for predictions, there is a job offer for Beckett in D.C.
And she's not going to take it.
She's not going to take it. She's not going to take it.
Personally, I just think this is a bump in the road. They're going to leave us hanging. And will she take it? Will she not? But then what? So Beckett leaves, takes a new job. No Castle, unless Castle follows her, which he can, but he can't work with her. He can follow her, but he can't work with her.
Yeah.
We wouldn't have Gates anymore. We wouldn't have Laney anymore. We wouldn't have Esposito or Ryan, unless they did like a dual thing. You're following her life there and their life in New York. But I just don't think that's a road that Castle's going to take.
To get more like, emotional about it. Her mom was killed in New York. And New York is where she's always been connected. I mean, she's a cop in New York. She's as much New York as she is a cop.
Yeah, I agree. I think that's a good point, actually.
I'm going to go different. I'm going to go different from you guys. I think that she will take the job or think about taking a job and it's going to cause some problems. And then for the season finale, which would be 2 weeks, then we'll conclude her as she's maybe in DC or something, and then like Castle will go back and get her or something will cause her to come back. But being that there's 2 episodes, there has to be some kind of drama.
I'm surprised that they teased her job, because I'd read about that online, but I'm surprised that they seem to be implying that that's going to happen next week. And you're right, there's 2 more weeks left.
Yeah, so that's what I think. She'll take it and she'll maybe go, and then of course she's gonna have to come back for some big dramatic happening or something.
Well, maybe the season finale she's gonna go, but then like
maybe she'll go to see the job, but not accept the job.
The next season is like her coming back to New York because the job didn't work out.
Well, see, I don't even see her accepting it. I honestly see her, if anything, maybe she'll go there to see what the precinct's like, see what the position's like. Like, are they offering her, like, is this going to be, like, scandal? Like, is she going to be working in the White House?
Or, like, CIA.
Is that what this
or, like,
is?
CIA.
We don't even know what the
hopefully
job
not
is.
the murdering part.
Yeah, not the murdering part of CIA. The Huck kind. The Huck kind. It's a whole different TV show. But that's what I automatically thought, was that they're going to put her, like, into the White House, like, instantly. Why else is she going to D.C.? Oh.
Well, you guys will have to tune in next week and then we'll recap about it. So we want to thank you guys for watching another AfterBuzz recap for Castle Season 5, Episode 22, entitled Still. Please let everyone know where you can be found.
Yes, you can find me, Paige Sullivan, on Twitter and Instagram at PaigeSull, and you can find me at perfectpage.com.
You can find me on Twitter at Samara Bay, SAMARABAY, and thesmartyattheparty.com.
You guys have such cool
I know, right?
names.
I don't even want to say mine anymore. But you can find me at Larice Shamar on Twitter, and also check out TruePeoplesMedia.com.
And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Bamm Ericsen, or you can check me out at Big Six Entertainment also on Twitter and Instagram. So thank you guys for watching. We'll see you guys next week.
From Bing.com, executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.